Hello, welcome to my diary. I'm Tatami, and today we're going to be reading some propaganda I found from the mainstream media, CNN, for landlords. And the way that they write this propaganda piece, it's literally trying to set it up like the tenants are the villains here, the poor people. Let's read this. So it caught my eye because it said tenants can't pay and landlords are furious. When you click on it, the title changes to "The Moving Target on Eviction Bans is a whiplash for landlords." Their necks, they're gonna need a neck brace. The way this is just whipping these landlords around. They don't know how to act. Imagine being homeless. Imagine the whiplash of your job fucking with your wage. Imagine the whiplash of fearing the streets. Literally, your next step down is the literal streets. This is by Anna Bonnie, a bootlicking biddy if ever there was one, clearly, apparently. Let's get into this. Since the beginning of the pandemic, property owner Matthew Haynes said he has lost $250,000 in rental income from tenants who did not pay him rent. This very first sentence, I knew I had to make a video because he did not lose anything of the sort. He didn't lose it. It didn't get taken out of his bank account. It never was in his bank account. He projected that he was going to get $250,000, and I have a feeling he may have already spent some of that money. Maybe last year, the year before that, was a little overspending because he presumed he was going to be getting this money, and then now that he's not raking in this money and he doesn't get that money that he projected he was going to get, now it's really starting to impact him, his lifestyle, what's going on. He didn't lose anything. He never had it. He wanted it. He thought he was going to grift it off of some people, and then due to unforeseen circumstances, which happens with just about any business, he did not get that. And it's really interesting how landlords are the one type of business. They've made our housing into a business, but they're the one type that doesn't see any way that they should ever have a projected loss or any kind of loss. Any other business that you see, you can see even the biggest businesses that we all know project losses. They have to switch up what they're doing, perhaps, to get more customers, to mitigate the losses. Landlords are the one type of people who are like, no, I shouldn't have to do anything. Upgrade, lower the rents, try to work with the tenants, try to figure out what, nope. They just think that this should all be raking in for the rest of the time. You bought the house, you get money till kingdom come. It's tired. It's just tired. It's greedy. They are bottom feeders, and they are entitled in a way that I just don't see any other people being. But let's continue. He says, "I've never woken up having panic attacks before this year," said Haynes, 53, who owns and manages 253 rental units in Dallas area from his firm Tangent Group. "All of this is because we can't control and run our business." I'd be curious how many of his tenants have had panic attacks because they don't have this type of income. They don't have this kind of wealth. They don't own 253 places to live. This man owns 253 places to live and is acting like he's some kind of victim. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Maybe you own more property than you can actually afford, sir. Maybe you should have planned for some of this. How is it your panic attacks mean something, but all the people poorer than you, their panic attacks just don't mean anything at all? And they've been having panic attacks for years. We've had, 70% of American public, 2-3 checks away from total poverty and homelessness for over a decade. But somehow his panic attack, I've never had it before this year. Welcome to the club, sir. Welcome to the goddamn club. He's worried about providing for his family, keeping his employees, whether he should sell the buildings and single-family homes he owns, which have been his livelihood for 27 years. He's saying whether or not he has to. He does not have to sell because he's not actually worried about if he's going to provide for his family. His family is fine. His family is fine. If he sells this, he will be a very wealthy man. It's a great market for it. He's not selling, though, because he's not actually that desperate. We're going to get into why he's not that desperate in just a few sentences. But the reality is that for 27 years he's been grifting, and it's been a very lucrative grift. And then now that he's not totally prepared for that lucrative grift, now it's everybody else's fault. Now he's having panic attacks. He don't know what to do, what to do. It's like, sir, you have so many options here. What the fuck am I missing? Why how is the whole community supposed to be uplifting you, sir, when you got 253 families who are relying on you for housing, and you're just like, oh, I'm the one with the panic attack. It can't be the people who can't afford rent. They aren't having panic attacks. Like many property owners whose tenants haven't paid rent during or all or part of the pandemic, he was looking forward to the end of the federal eviction moratorium that was put in place by the CDC to help prevent the spread. But after it expired at the end of July, they issued a new eviction moratorium focused on areas experiencing an elevated spread of coronavirus, which covers 90% of renters. Go figure. And that includes where Haynes properties are held. So there's a huge pandemic. People are dying. It's mostly the poor and it's mostly the people of color. But somehow we're supposed to feel bad for this landlord because they're keeping people housed during a pandemic. Let's continue. The CDC said that evicting people could be detrimental to the public health of us all, the society that he so loves. And let's also keep in mind, if those people he evicted popped a tent on the sidewalk, he'd also be the first to call the police because his property values. He has no interest in helping anything in the community except himself. I'm thoroughly disgusted with it, he said of the new moratorium, which is in place until October 3rd. It's an infringement on my rights as a property owner. Sorry. That was my favorite quote. An infringement on his rights as a property owner. Holy crap, these people are entitled. This is where it gets me, though. This is where it gets me. He then moves on to say he's not looking to evict all of his non-paying tenants. He's making a full distinction between who can't pay and who won't. It's only the latter he wants out of his building. I'd like to know when he went in and he assessed all of those people who haven't paid. We're going to get to how many haven't paid of his 253 haven't paid. That lost him $500,000, because this is going to blow your fucking mind. But let's just say he really thinks he's going to be differentiating between those who can't and those who won't. How the fuck he know that? He go in and he see everybody's assets. He's asking for bank records so he can see how much money each person has. Oh, well, I know that person got EDD. How do you know how much EDD they might have had? How do you know how much of the stimulus they had, what bills they had, what they had to pay for to stay afloat, what things they had to prioritize over other things, what things they've shut off and kept off, or what things they've cut out of their life that used to be a part of it? You don't know. You don't fucking know who can't and who won't. Who the fuck is this guy? Who does he think he is to decide he knows who can and who won't pay? He's like, we're not kicking people out who can't. We're just removing the people who refuse to. If you don't give me a cut of your pennies, then how do I know you're serious? If you only have $300 and you've got to pay food, you got to pay the car, you got to keep the bills, the lights on, you've got to keep internet so you can keep looking for jobs, you got to keep your phone on so you can get the calls from the jobs, and that 300 is gone. But you know what? You showed you don't care about living in a rental facility because you didn't give him 20 to 50 to 100 of your mere couple $100. And that's how he knows. Like, this guy is so entitled. He's so rich. And he's out here mad that people are perhaps just trying to save up some money. Some of them may be trying to save up money to get the hell out of there because it's impossible to find new and affordable places. And everybody's competing with the lowest common affordable housing, which isn't very affordable at all. And people are showing up like, hey, I got money. I can pay the first 6 months of rent. I can pay this. I can pay that. It's getting crazy out here, but this guy is out here thinking he's the judge of who can and who can't afford what. And really what it is who is the poor person that can act correctly in front of him, right? Who's humble when he comes by? Who's willing to grit? Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I've done it's just who's willing to give him a sob story, a narrative, versus who's just fucking tired? Who's just a worker who's like, dude, I don't have to explain shit. Go sign up for the rental assistance if you need it, and let's move on. Some people just don't want to fucking act. Some people don't want to bootlick. Some people are fucking tired. We shouldn't have to bootlick just to get a fucking house when it's illegal to be homeless. When you get arrested for sleeping on the street or putting a tent up on the street, they'll come and take all your shit. This just makes no sense. It just makes no sense. The entitlement. Let's get to it. He said he currently has 8 people out of 253. 8 people out of 253. 8 lost him $500,000. How expensive are these homes? If only 8 is about to put you into destitution, 253 people are paying, 8 people are struggling, and you're telling me I might have to sell the whole thing? I might go to the streets. How can I provide for my family? What he means is, how can we not go to the Disney cruise like I promised? How come I can't invest in all these other things like I plan to? These poor people are holding me back. Not you holding you back by choosing stupid shit to invest in, by acting like 8 people is really bringing you to the poorhouse. But let's continue. They haven't paid in 6 months to a year. We finally be able to do something about that. He says that they could receive rental assistance but haven't applied. Bitch, you can apply for rental assistance. You do it. The landlord can do it. Both of you can do it at the same time, and it makes it quicker, but you, one or the other, can absolutely do it without the other person. This is not hard. This is not. What is he talking about? Why is CNN giving him a whole article to wax poetic on things that are wrong, and they're not even going to fact check him? They're just going to let him continue on blathering away about how his mean old 8 tenants are bringing the other 240 something down. Like, give me a break. Give me a break. This guy's a fucking clown. Every time I think we could get to the other side, they move the goalposts and change the rules. Remember when we all used to be able to rent without having to pay $30, $60 plus per adult to get a credit check? Y'all kept moving the goalpost of who could get into a house. Oh, you have so many people. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, the law says that many people can be here. But my feelings for my apartment is that you guys just won't be comfortable. Oh, yeah, no, I don't rent to couples. Oh, I don't rent to people with a cat. Oh, only singles only, students only, techies only. Y'all moved the goalpost 1 billion fucking times all over the fucking country. But then now, the goalposts, what are the rules? Bitch, you're the one who fumbled all this shit. The rest of us have been asking what are the fucking rules, who's gonna step in and do something, and now suddenly you guys are like, I want regulation. Bitch, regulation. Y'all need to be regulated, if anything, and we could avoid a lot of this issue if y'all weren't over charging for your shit pieces of house that you clearly are overcharging for, just so that you can not only have us pay your mortgage, have us pay your property taxes, but also make a little bit on the side. That's what you're really mad about. This is the other one. I'm going to finish up real quick because I don't want to read the whole article because it will go to this lady, Dawn Pfaff of New York and Florida, and then it's going to go straight back to the fucking idiot Haynes. And it's going to just let him just blather on and on about how he knows who can and who can't and who will and who won't and who would if they could, blah, blah, blah. Like, he's literally just projecting and making up narratives for people, which is something like I notice like the white community does love to do that. They love to like fill in a narrative, but especially the upper class community. All of the rich people, they love a narrative. If you don't give them one, they will make one up for you. And no matter how you try and change it afterwards, that's just what they believe about you now. It's over. It's done. Like I've learned the hard way. You give these people a narrative. It don't even have to be true, but it does have to be good. And then they'll just fucking believe that shit for the rest of their lives. So when Dawn Pfaff, a landlord with properties in New York and Florida, heard that the ban was coming back, she said it filled her with dread. She thinks allowing a person to live in someone else's property for 6 months to a year for free while someone else has to pay the taxes, insurance, and maintenance is a violation of the law and unconstitutional. That did not happen. Sign up for the rental assistance. Blame your politicians for the fact that it's not coming out fast enough, but nobody lived off your property for free. There was literally a whole package, a whole bill passed so that that's not actually what's happening. You should be at City Hall. You should be at your fucking state capital, something. It looks like you got the money, girl. You're flying from New York to, where was it, Florida? You're going in between states and you can't even go to somewhere to protest, write to somebody, call someone up, call your fucking representative, ask what the hell is going on, ask for some pressure, call the media, talk to the media. You have a whole interview with CNN and you're mad at the tenants and not at the people who are supposed to be paying off that stuff for the tenants, because this is an unprecedented situation in which people can't afford their rent? Is this serious? Are these people serious? It's like they've been coddled and handheld so long. They want like the actual poor people who are out here in the thick of it to fight their battle too, to be sad for them too. Bitch, I can't even get food in my house. You want me to be sad for you about like people paying for free, blah, blah, blah. Bitch, I'm hungry. Talk to the people who actually have the money and the power to be doing something, but y'all out here trying to blame the fucking poor people. The notion that the moratorium is not legal is hotly contested. Court cases have decided both for and against the moratorium, and other cases have yet to be decided. The moratorium does not erase the rent owed, but the rental payment does. Okay, but most landlords in the US are like her. They call themselves mom and pop landlords. Oh my God. Mom and pop landlord usually means I can't actually afford to be a landlord, and my plan is to grift off of the people. I'm poor, but to grift off of the peasants slightly poorer than me to pay for my lifestyle. That's what mom and pop landlords are. They just can't pay. They just can't. The long term, if anything goes wrong, they're going to be in the shit, but they're going to blame their tenants for the fact that they're in the shit and not the fact that they signed up for something that they could not actually afford long term. That they knew, if I just have 3 bad months, this will all go to shit. But they still decided to sign up for it because it was a gamble. It was a gamble, and they lost. But we're supposed to feel bad because this is the one business where you're never supposed to go under. You're never supposed to have any kind of troubles. You're never supposed to lose any money or have a bad month or something unexpected happens, so you get less than you projected that you would. No, landlords, they need their money. They need it every month. They can't do without it, and you're hurting their business. They're not running their business correctly. You are the problem. Imagine if Victoria's Secret said that, instead of just trying to like try something new by being inclusive and actually having girls with big titties and providing stuff for girls with big titties because they're the ones who actually wear the bras. Imagine if they were just like, you all don't get it. You all are sick. Fuck you. What's her name? Adriana Lima. She's the GOAT. And anybody who doesn't want to buy anything from us, it's your fault. You're bringing Victoria's Secret down. Imagine if they acted like that. We would all be like, dude, why do you feel entitled like this to never having any losses in your business? Things happen. Your whole life can't be set up on a gamble like landlord, a grift like landlord, a bottom feeding job like landlord, and then you're mad at everybody else because you can't actually afford it. This is the part where I'm going to wrap it up because this lady really took me for a ride. She said, I didn't buy stocks and I don't have a lot of retirement saved. Said Faf, who also works as a real estate agent and runs other property related business. So her whole grift was to buy up hella properties in neighborhoods, which contributes to gentrification, which contributes to people not being able to also buy a house in their neighborhood because they all bought up by a corporation or by greedy mom and pops who want to play like a corporation, but they don't have the capital. She's like, our whole plan is to get our mortgages paid off and live off rentals as our retirement income. Your entire plan was to grift off the peasant class. Your entire plan was to be middle class and to grift off the peasant class for retirement, which you did not save for, which is probably not your fault, but somehow it's the fault of the peasants because they couldn't keep up your grift and pay your mortgage for you. When you rely on impoverished people to get all of this done, don't be surprised when they, who are having panic attacks because they can't pay for anything, when they also have to just pick up and just fucking drop everything, or they just have to leave, or they just have to stop paying, or they just have, it's part of the, it's part and parcel for all of this. See, when the big corporations who are doing this have it, they just like evict us, blah blah blah, it's a done deal. But when mom and pops do it, suddenly it's personal. Hey, I was just trying, no dude, this is still not personal. You got involved in housing, which is a really serious thing for people, and then now you're mad because people are going to fight for their housing. They're going to fight to not be on the streets. They're going to fight to keep their kids off the streets. They're going to fight to still have a place where they can cook, clean, take a shower, and get ready for the next interview. That's the reality. But you're gonna act like, oh, they should just go homeless for me because I'm a mom and pop dude. When I'll say this, anything with mom and pop, I give the side eye to, because I've had more wage theft from mom and pop places. I have had the least professionalism from mom and pop landlords. I have had, every time it's mom and pop, I just hear, I'm here to take advantage of the community. I have to see it for myself, see the storefront, see whatever's happening for myself to determine if that is a grifting situation or not. Because more often than not, they use that to kind of suck you in, like, mom, pop. Really, they're out here like fucking with you. They expect more labor for less money. They don't pay overtime. Your checks are always short. They never fix anything in the whole spot, and it's because they're poor. They're a landlord. They're mom and pop. They just can't afford it. Meanwhile, you don't have an oven. You're fucking what's it called, washing machine is splurting water out. I don't know if y'all saw my video. The water is just splurting everywhere, and my husband looked at all that and he was like, guys, you have to tear all this up and actually put a septic or of the pipe system so that it's not all going to the same place from all of these different apartments. You actually have to set this up correctly, because it's just going to keep getting clogged because too many people are going into this one little space. They're like, oh yeah, well, we're just a mom and pop, we can't fix it. So now what do we have? But I need to feel bad for you because you're too poor to do what you signed up to do, and now I'm stuck in it. Now I'm stuck in your situation. Get the fuck out. She said most of her tenants have kept up with the rent. Again, most of her tenants. All of this was just because one or two didn't do it. So the first guy, I'm pretty sure, can absolutely afford. This lady, I'm pretty sure, took a gamble and she fucking lost, and now she's mad. She took a gamble and now she lost, and now she's fucking mad. It says she did sell a 65 unit mobile home park in upstate New York last December because it became cumbersome to evict tenants with the changes to tenant laws in the state prior to the pandemic. So this is an issue, again, that's been going on prior to the pandemic. All of this housing issue has been prior to the pandemic. What the pandemic really did was we were all kind of teetering on the edge of the cliff, and it just pushed everybody straight the fuck off. But it was always an issue. These landlords just didn't care until it kind of started to affect them. They started not being able to get that cash flow that they had projected themselves to be getting. Don't put your retirement on a fucking gamble, y'all. Don't buy a fucking home that you're not going to be able, if you think it could bankrupt you in 6 months, it could ruin you in a year, and you're trying to retire off of that. Please play smarter than this in this capitalist bullshit game, because like, we all have to function in this society, but we do not have to grift and be stupid like this. I'm sorry. She goes on to say, there's so many people like me with tenants who can't pay and their hands are tied. Just a couple of your tenants can't pay and your hands are totally tied. Where did all the money go from the years prior to this while you were grifting? News of the latest eviction moratorium just days after the previous one had expired was whiplash for landlords, according to Greg Brown, Senior Vice President of Government Affairs for the National Apartment Association, an industry group of property owners. Fuck all of you. Sincerely, fuck you. Fuck you. You're all out here grifting on people. Apartments, like, goddamn. We're just so disappointed to see we were going back to it after we had agreed it was ending. Who's the we? We had agreed on nothing. We are actually scared of being homeless. We are actually out here just trying to make some fucking money to live. We are actually out here desperately searching for affordable housing, which is nowhere to be found. That's my we. I don't know about your we about we agreed this was ending. We did nothing. Who's this we? The government seems to be doing it without y'all, so you're not even part of the we. I don't understand any of this. Now we have a whole new metric, and landlords are asking how they follow this and try to figure out how to comply. Oh, what are the rules? What are the rules? Oh my gosh, you guys. Imagine just a bunch of things coming at you this way and that. You don't know which way to turn, which way to do things. Now imagine homelessness is the actual issue that you might experience. Not, I would have to sell my properties and perhaps reinvest or find another way to live accordingly. That's too much. That's too far. Unlike the prior ban, the new protection is more limited. But even though court challenges to the new moratorium are being filed, Brown said his association is telling owners they need to hold off on evictions for non-payment and they need to work with the tenants to get rent relief. No, really? Go figure. It's like he has to be like, no, you guys are so right. They're hurting you. They're hurt. But follow the fucking law. Then just work with them to get your rental relief. Okay. Like, you have options. We don't all have to just panic and try to be evicting people illegally, which some people are. And I've heard some landlords are shooting people out here. And you're just proving our point that you're fucking entitled pieces of shit. It's disgusting. You were always entitled. The fact that you feel entitled to shoot poor people because they're not able to pay for your grift is just... the level of entitlement just knows no bounds. Let's see. Brown says there are substantial penalties for violating the order, and landlords aren't going to risk having to face those, but they will risk a lot of other things. I assure you, these guys are not just walking around their property being nice to poor people. They're probably harassing people. I know in the comment section of where this was shared, somebody was talking about some kind of weird situation where their landlord decided, like, to pretend like they had been trying to reach out to them, and then was like, the property's abandoned. It just walked right into their apartment, and they had to, like, physically kick this guy out and, like, file a whole bunch of new shit because he was just lying. He was just pretending like he'd done stuff and just walked straight into the apartment. I wish my landlord would. That's all I gotta say. It says they're likely to run the numbers on losing an additional 2 months or more rent. They need to figure out how to cover 60 more days. Oh my God, 60 more days. Oh, but the actual poor people who aren't making money off of 240 other people who can pay their rent, what are they doing? Why is there they didn't once ask any tenants about what they thought. I'm just tired. This is just ridiculous. I'm gonna, like, skip it because then this goes into, like, him trying to break down who gets what and who gets who. In all honesty, I think this has revealed the COVID situation has just revealed the underbelly of how America it's barely holding on. It's just every man for himself. Every person is just scrambling and fighting for whatever crumbs they can get. And for whatever reason, as we all fight for the crumbs, those who have just a few more crumbs than us are, like, pointing at our crumbs, and they're like, it's your fault. Meanwhile, there were so many ways that this money could have come from. The money is already there. They could just be paying it out. But there's also so many ways that the landlords could have been supplemented, that the businesses could have been supplemented, and yet nobody wants to, like, get in the faces of the politicians who did not make it happen. Nobody wants to get in the faces of their legislation, of the fact that their community is not a community, that their taxes didn't step in and save the day this past year and a half when it absolutely was there and it absolutely could have. They don't want to acknowledge the fact that we've been pouring money into things that don't fucking matter or have nothing to do with us, and that money could easily be spent on situations like this. And I think that this is just the perfect opportunity to note our government should be providing affordable housing. Our government should have decent housing that people just pay the at cost, perhaps. Just pay what it actually costs to keep the place open. People would be paying, what, $100, $200 in rent, $300 in rent, depending on where the fuck you were in the country. It would be so easy, and it would make it so jerks like this didn't get this idea that their whole scheme should be off of offering housing to the poor and taking it away and switching out which one is there so they can grift as much money as possible, raising the rent. And if you don't like it, then live on the street. My closet is worth $2,000 a month. How dare you say it's not worth $2,000 a month? You get the closet, you get the you get bathroom privileges, no kitchen privileges. If I smell anything cooking in the kitchen, you're out. Everything that's $2,000 in here in California is like rent a bedroom in a mansion with a bunch of other singles. It's not normal. None of this is normal, and our government should absolutely be stepping in. To be clear, I'm actually an advocate for housing for all, free housing for all, using our taxes for that. But I am okay with us having a kind of transition period for those who are really kicking and screaming against using our taxes for things like the people, the citizens, and trying to actually progress humanity and our society and the way we care for each other and operate on this fragile planet. But the fact that all these landlords are finding the tenants to be the villains, the poor people to be the villains, they're wondering, why won't they just go homeless for me? Why won't they just go sleep on the street so I can make my extra money and have my comfortable retirement, or spoil my kids the way I planned to? It's just the dissonance. It's just nuts. There's the class warfare is so heavy and strong and deep in this country, and people don't even realize that's what's happening. So at any rate, I'm going to say this: if you're in the working class, if you understand the struggle, hold the line, hold your rent. If you need it, if you're trying to move somewhere else, keep your money. But I'm saying, like, if you really are serious about this struggle, if you're really serious about all this, and I also will say this to the workers at like Nabisco, I wish the Amazon workers had held the line, but I understand maybe why they were too scared to. But you know, if you're somebody who's rejecting jobs because they don't pay a living wage, hold the line. If you're trying to make it so your job doesn't take away stuff from you, hold the line. They're really trying right now to go hard on the class warfare because they know a lot of people are scrambling and struggling. So they're out here trying to take away weekends and overtimes from the Nabisco workers. They're trying to say, hey, nobody wants to work, y'all are lazy, for the people who don't want to slave away for $10. They're cutting hours, they're cutting benefits, they're cutting everything that we've had so that we will have to again fight for it through the struggle for the next decade. And in all honesty, I think this is just one of those situations where the general strike, the rent strike, all of these other issues that the working class is feeling, it's all coming to a head. And if we don't hold the line, they're going to just keep taking advantage. They're just going to keep taking and taking. And honestly, we're poor enough that it's just like something's got to give. We can't keep coddling the landlords. We can't keep coddling corporations. We can't keep coddling those who are literally doing their damnedest to make sure that we are subdued and overworked and have no benefits to show for any of it. It's just getting to that point where we have to call a spade a spade. They're out here raising the prices of everything, trying to get a little bit of that stimulus money if you still have any. They're debating whether or not to give more stimulus money. At this point, it's a fucking joke. At this point, it's just absurd, and it's only going to keep getting worse. And I just say, hold the line. All right. May your ancestors and spirit guides be with you at every crossroads, and I will see you next time.